So today's Monday, June 30th, 2025. I'm opening the Instructional Subcommittee meeting at 417 Rock Street. Deb, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Dias?
Here.
Ms. Larrabee?
Here.
Ms. Pereira?
Ms. Pereira told me she was going to be late, so she'll be in soon. Salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. 1.3, open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledgeable and permissible. On to citizens input. Deb, do we have any today?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Discussion 3.1 is discussion and vote to refer the Morton Criminal Justice Job Description. Who will that be, Dr. Curley?
Myself, yeah.
Okay.
So, as you know, during the budget cycle, there was a criminal justice position added to Morton Middle School. The idea is all three middle schools actually have one program currently that aligns with offerings at the high school. So Talbot has a construction craft labor program, Cuss has a culinary program, and so this would be the opportunity to add a criminal justice program to Morton, with the intention that obviously this is not a CTE program, it's not at the high school level, but really it's an introductory sort of program for students to just get their interest and then be a potential feeder for kids who choose to go to Durfee and may be interested in the criminal justice pathway at that point. So.
What made you,
Came
criminal
from the
justice?
team. So Dr. Betancourt and the team at Morton were interested in adding this. They also felt like with this kind of a program, there's not like this major build out, right, or cost associated with it, right?
Okay.
So it's not like adding a construction program where then you have to outfit
Correct.
an
Yeah.
area or
Yeah.
adding a culinary. So they felt as though this would have been really interesting to add. I know they had talked about some other options, but they landed here and felt like they could incorporate some of the things they were interested in incorporating were things like CPR and first aid certification and different things like that, which I think would be great to expose, our middle school kids to at an early age.
Motion to refer to full committee.
Second.
Quick comment, full support of this, and I think it's a really good idea, someone who's a criminal justice major myself, to get the Fall River Public Schools, the students involved. And the only question I would have is, I don't know if this is more of an elective, or and if this is an elective, this is something, if we see high numbers in this, and even for the culinary program out, if we're keeping numbers on that, is this something that could be expanded to all middle schools? Because you have to go to Morton to be in this program.
Right,
It's
so
something we can look
exactly. So just like the construction's only a Talbot, the culinary's only a Cuss, but I'm sure if there's if there's a lot of interest, as I said, this is not a program that requires a lot of the other capital improvement type stuff, so there's always potential to look and see if we can expand, yeah.
No, yeah, very good. I yield.
Right, and there's such a shortage, right, of police, and, get their brains thinking a little earlier could help the city out of it, like, when they're older.
Yep.
But, vote, we already voted, right?
No.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Mr. Dias?
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee?
Yes.
Ms. Pereira?
Okay, next, 3.2, discussion and vote to refer impact coaching for new teachers at Talbot.
Great. So this is a partnership. As you know, Talbot is the recipient of an intensive assistance grant, which is just under $1 million for 3 years total. So Talbot is going into the second year next year. This partnership, this organization, Impact Coaching, who I've met with, what they actually do is they come in and do some intensive weekly coaching with new teachers, teachers in their first 2 years, preferably new, but teachers in their first 2 years. The intention really is there to just provide them a lot of support and aid with recruitment, retention, that sort of thing. So this would be, I believe they would be working with 5 or 6 teachers. I think the proposal's for no more than 6.
From all 3 of those schools?
This is actually, so there's 2 proposals. This is the second one here that I have, but there's a second proposal This is the one for Westall, Fonseca, Watson. That's a
Yeah.
separate agenda item. I think the one we're on right
Oh,
now
Talbot's
is,
in
yes.
order, okay.
So I have
I
that, I
even
can
said
share that. It's a separate proposal. It's similar.
This one.
That's a separate one, that's the second one. That's the
Oh.
next
That is
agenda
not
item,
it.
yes. So the first item is just specifically to Talbot, and this organization actually comes in and coaches brand-new teachers every
Okay.
week for the year.
Okay.
And so they do one-on-one coaching, they come in and observe the classroom, meet with the teachers, do some collaborative planning, so that's only for brand-new teachers.
Yep.
The second proposal, or if, I don't know if we wanna wait, maybe talk about this one, then we can get to the second one in a moment.
I don't have the backup.
I know, I'm looking for that, yeah.
Do we have that one, Deb? No, right?
I don't think I got that one.
Yeah.
Cause the only one.
Yeah,
I
we just
had
have the
is
Watson
yeah.
Fonseca, that's why, when I read Talbot, I was like, ooh, maybe they added it, but I guess not. So, yeah, just, I guess, give us some information.
Yeah, I can give you
So,
information, and then I can always, you know, if
Supply
we
it
need to
later.
move to the
Yeah.
other one, we can if we
Yep.
want to.
Well,
So this organization has two arms. The first part is they'll come in and actually coach teachers themselves, right? And that's the part that we're pursuing for Talbot with new teachers. The second part is really what the proposal you have is here for those three schools, where it's more of a train-the-trainer model, right?
Okay.
So for the Talbot grant, it's all grant funded. They would come in and work with no more than 6 teachers for the school year. They would provide them weekly coaching. They actually visit every week and work with those teachers. So observe them, sit with them, co-plan with them. When I met with this organization, you know, they had you know, pretty strong recommendations and strong feedback from people who had participated in terms of like satisfaction, right? Feeling
Yeah.
like they got that support. So this was really just a unique opportunity for us, given that Talbot's in this position where the intention is they get this surplus of funds to really accelerate like achievement in that 3-year span. This is something that we thought may fit in with the other work that they're doing.
How come just 6? How many new teachers?
That's really all the capacity the organization had.
How do you
so they
select
keep
which
it,
ones?
They
Which
keep it
teachers?
small. I'll leave that to the team and
Okay.
determine. You know, when they look at their new hires, keep in mind that sometimes new teachers might also have support from someone else as well.
Okay.
So, for instance, if there's a new teacher that might be a math teacher, there could be support from Carnegie, or a new teacher that's
Okay.
doing ELA, there could be
Yeah.
support from Amplify. So we'd probably look to see
To
who
win
is
that.
not necessarily getting that support right now, and how do we give them some additional intensive
Right.
coaching.
So these aren't transfers, these are new teachers, like right out of school?
Yeah,
or whatever.
they'll work up to, they prefer, according to the organization, people in their first and second year.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, real quick, I'll vote to support it, going to the full committee. I just asked that we get like the.
I'll share it
the
with you today,
backup.
yeah.
Just for the full meeting. And
Yep.
in today's last day, doing later in the month. I guess my only, general question is, cause I know we rely on a lot of coaching, so this is coming out of a grant, you said that?
This is grant, yeah,
So
this
that's
is
coming
grant
out of that grant.
And the grant has to be expended in the 3-year span. We just finished year 1. This would be year 2, so it's a partnership we're looking at. So as long as it's in that total allocation over the course of 3 years, we can certainly expend. So this is all grant funded.
Alright, for Talbot, for this coaching, is this going to duplicate any efforts from any other coaching services like you
Well,
mentioned?
yeah, there are coaches there at Talbot, but I think what it'll help us do is really provide more intensive support across the board. So if you have a coach at Talbot that's focusing on ESL, they are more able to do that effectively because there's someone else that might be able to pick this work up.
So I guess my only question would be, so with this grant, right, we're not gonna have like duplicated services for educators, and they're gonna be getting like swamped with different.
No, the intention
information.
would be that if someone's already working with a coach, a different coach in the building or through a partnership, that this would be reserved for someone who doesn't have that
Okay,
opportunity
okay.
in the moment.
you.
Exactly, yeah.
Most-
And we kept it small, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
up to 6 people. So.
Right,
Motion to refer.
second,
So the third item,
one second, we're gonna take a
oh, sorry,
vote.
go ahead. Yep.
Alright.
Do you want me to roll call?
Yeah,
Okay. Mr. Dice?
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee?
yes,
Ms. Ferraro?
and now it's the coaching, the trainer, right?
Right, so,
three.
yeah, so as I met with these folks, I while we had the grant funds available with Talbot, and to support through the direct coaching partnership, the other part of their business is really around train the trainer, capacity building.
Okay.
So I think long term for us in Fall River, if we can have an opportunity to actually learn this and train our own people, it becomes more sustainable in the long run, right? Than constantly contracting with an organization to support new teachers. So this is really a proposal. What we've done this year is sort of put schools in pods so that principals and their teams work together. And so this would be for this group of schools, West Alphonska, Watson. The intention would be that this is a train the trainer model, and they would come in and train people that are in coach or department chair, any sort of roles around like providing feedback, supporting teachers, with the be a year-long partnership with the intention that they'd be trained by the end of the year. So
Sure, that's pretty straightforward. I don't really have much of a question. I'll make a motion to refer.
I'll second, I do have a question.
sure.
Why these 3 schools? Why did you put them into this
Yeah.
specific pod?
Yeah, I mean, so Fonska we know is one of our underperforming schools,
Right.
And then
Watson
Watson just came out, and Westall's a brand new school, but also
Okay.
we have a lot of students from Fonska there, brand new school. But we thought as though that would be an interesting partnership to be
Right.
able to work with those 3, and have some impact, particularly on our high needs schools.
Perfect. Deb, will the call please?
Sure.
Call the roll, whatever.
Mr. Dias?
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee?
Yes.
Ms. Ferraro?
3-4, discussion and vote to refer ESL curriculum purchase. Who is that?
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, so this curriculum is HMH English 3D.
This one here.
That we are looking at. It is for our newcomer
Yeah.
students in year 1 and year 2 of receiving multilingual services. We did look at another curriculum besides this curriculum. At this time, this curriculum has received the WIDA Prime seal. The other curriculum, although it had some good points to it, it had not yet received the WIDA Prime seal, and we did not feel comfortable coming forward
Right.
and recommending, saying, we hope it gets the seal, so.
But now it has the seal.
Now, so this one already had the seal.
Okay.
But we did look at the other one because it was something teachers were interested in and had recommended to us.
What was the other one?
It was National Geographic.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that one. Yeah.
And so there were some positives about that curriculum, but this one does have the seal. I will also say that this curriculum company has been highly supportive throughout the process. So they were immediately accessible when teachers had questions. As we were piloting it, some teachers were struggling with some of the units, and they actually came on site completely free of charge and supported the teachers. So they're heavily involved in making sure that we have success with their materials, which was important to us. We want to make sure that teachers and coaches have access to someone who is going to support them. So this is the curriculum that we felt at this time is best for us. And that would be at all of the middle schools that have students at those levels as well as the high school. And also with materials available for RPA and STOME.
Yep.
If they should have students that need that service as well, we wanted to
Right.
make sure that was in there and that those students are included.
Mr. Dias?
Yeah, there's one question.
Sure.
So I see I'm just trying to see how many students this could support, because I see for like the English 3D we have 300 different, and for some volume 2, some course Bs and course Cs the number goes down a little bit. Could you explain maybe why that?
So, language launch is for truly newcomers. So those are for students who have just arrived in the United States. Volume B is for students, typically it happens in their second year, but we don't restrict students from moving on, so it's when they're ready to go into the next level. Course B is really more geared towards middle school students. Course C is geared towards high school students.
And then also there's a distinction between teacher materials and student-facing materials.
Okay.
So the numbers that are really low are most of the teacher-facing
materials.
materials, because obviously we have a smaller group of teachers, and they wouldn't need 100 something of the resources, right? So.
Yeah, the only last thing I would add, a vote to move this to the full committee. I would just like to request us to see what else, because I know we've, as a committee, approved different curriculum, in the past, so I just wanna make sure we're not, overlapping, so that could be provided the backup for the full committee.
Yep, so
Appreciate that.
just so you know, we had Edge, that National Geographic, they are no longer publishing it. So that's what we were using. We have to sunset it because it's no longer being published and no longer being supported. So we don't have a choice to really continue with that material, so we had to adopt something different.
Right.
Right, no, maybe I'm also confusing, I know we have a different curriculum for the elementary school.
We do, and we also have different curriculum for different levels. So if it's helpful to clarify that, I certainly can. No worries at all.
Appreciate it, thank you. Motion to refer to the full committee?
Second.
This next piece, I
Wait,
think,
we
oh,
can
sorry, go
vote.
ahead, yep.
Let's
Do
go.
it. I don't know the rules.
Mr. Dice?
Yes.
Larrabee?
Yes.
Ms. Ferraro?
All right, ESL.
So then this Boston College partnership is also a, which I'm not seeing them,
I don't see it.
yeah, we don't, I think this was the Maria Brisk thing, I
Is it?
believe, yes.
Okay.
Which we're waiting for an updated quote from them.
No, we have the quote.
We have one? Okay.
It's going to be grant funded.
Okay.
So.
So, okay, this was,
The grant has to come through for us to
Yep.
fund it or else we find it.
so let's just talk a little bit about
Sure.
the
Yeah,
partnership,
speak about it.
absolutely, yeah,
Got it.
yeah. Do you wanna talk a little bit?
Sure. So, speaking of the ESL curriculum, as you know, last year, the school committee supported some grant-funded work around a curriculum that we are building around systemic functional linguistics pedagogy. Systemic functional linguistics we were using with our advanced students, so not the students that we just spoke about, the students who have come out of the foundational levels but are still designated as multilingual learners. Systemic functional linguistics is a pedagogy that is known for being really useful with multilingual learners. It's also a pedagogy that works for students who are native English speakers.
Right.
So Maria Brisk is affiliated with Boston College. She currently works there, and so hence why it's a Boston College partnership. She is willing to come and her team to work with us and a couple of schools to build out some units so that students are able in our core classes to have access to systemic functional linguistics as well. What that will do is expand the work to our core students, to our all of our students in Fall River. It also will potentially allow more flexibility for schools to determine whether they want to do a pull-out or a co-taught model
Right.
for our ESL students.
And the focus is really on writing,
Yep.
writing instruction, so just improving our writing instruction. Lisa has been doing some book studies with groups this year, and then we basically just reached out to the author themselves and who works at BC as a retired professor from BC to see if they were interested in potentially partnering to expand that work.
Almost all of the leads, ELA leads in the district have done the training, and this really was this wasn't something that we kind of pushed down to them, it was something that they took the training and they became really, really interested in. And so it was more of a bottom-up, where teachers and leaders were becoming really interested in the pedagogy. So they were, it was not really us saying, you should do this, it was them saying, we want to do this.
Okay.
So, we're trying to find a way to support them.
So how many faculty members, how many teachers do you think are going to be involved with the BC people?
We're looking at potentially grades 4 and 5
Yep.
across
That was my
3
next
sites,
question.
3
Okay.
schools.
Yep.
So we would start small as sort of a pilot, but all of 4th and 5th grade across 3 schools.
Younger.
That's the
I thought we
intention.
were going to go older with that. You just kind of shocked me. Okay.
So we do work with the older students. The context is a little different because ESL and ELA
Yep.
don't overlap as much at the high school, and at the middle school. Not that they couldn't. That is also something that we're exploring, but we have had a lot of stability and buy-in at the elementary level. So that feels like a good place to start.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, just real quick, how much is, this is gonna be fully funded by
Yes, a grant.
by a grant,
That we're
and so, whatever, how much is the grant?
I've requested $100,000. You're gonna see a letter come across your desks for hey, we've applied for the grant.
Right,
Yep.
and that full 100,000 will go towards this?
No, just a
program?
portion, a smaller
Portion.
portion. I want to say less than 50,000, I believe, right?
So I've requested 50. This current partnership is for about 25.
25.
So that we have a little bit of flexibility to
Because there'll be other
expand
components of the
Yep.
grant as
If-
well,
if
or
there are-
expand the partnership.
or expand the partnership.
Yeah, motion to refer, I just asked that we just get like the breakdown.
Absolutely. Yep.
Second.
Do you want me to roll call?
Yeah, please.
Mr.
Sorry,
Rice?
I keep
Yes.
forgetting
Ms.
to ask.
Larrabee?
Yes.
Ms. Pearl? I just didn't know if there was any more consultation.
This next one is sort of just informational, really. So we've established partnership, really formalized a partnership with Bridgewater State University, which has been exciting. In the fall, we're launching 2 cohorts of 25 students each, graduate students for a master's in special education and a master's in ESL. 2 areas that we have found challenging to really staff, and so we thought we would really take this approach of let's build the capacity of the staff that we do have. So with Bridgewater, the way we've designed the cohort, teachers are actually going to be able to take advantage of what's called the Teach Grant because of the areas of high need. And so between that and the tuition reimbursement that we currently have in the district anyway, it's going to be very cost effective
great.
for
them.
educators.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
exactly.
great.
So it'll be very cost effective for them. So we're excited. It's really just informational only. We already have, as of the first informational session, so we have 50 slots. There were 38 folks already interested in the first session. We're doing another informational session in July and again in August because we know that we are actively hiring folks, and there may be folks that are coming on right now that are interested in doing this, and we think this will support us with recruitment as well because we're going to do something different in Fall River than maybe they can take advantage of.
Right,
elsewhere.
and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, in addition to the UMass program that our teachers
Yes, exactly. So we've done it, so we sort of tried to differentiate, there's different paths for
Right,
different
there's
people.
different
So UMass is really an MAT, Masters of Arts in Teaching. This is really honed in specifically on special
Special ed.
education, ESL, as really high areas of
We've been
need.
I think Marie,
Yeah, this has been, we've been
Talking,
developing this
yes,
partnership, this
for a
really
little while.
formalizes it.
Yeah.
Some pathways have existed, but this is
Yeah.
branded for
this is
Fall
cool
River.
stuff. This
And
is
then
the
there'll
good
be
stuff,
what's
yeah.
not listed here as well, and they created a website for Fall River, like a BSU Fall River website.
Yeah.
Is also an autism certificate.
Beautiful.
Which is great. So we have growing population of students with autism. So I think there'll be a lot of educators that might already be a special educator or someone who's not,
Yeah.
but is interested in really learning more. And so there's going to be, I believe it's a 4-course certificate offered through Bridgewater as well,
That's
with a
great.
focus on autism.
Is it all online?
It's all online.
I thought so, okay.
It's all online. It
Yeah.
takes about it'll take about 3-ish years. So it's very part time, very doable for folks.
yeah.
They kind of wanted to make the pace in a way that people could easily be working and also doing their coursework. So
I love it.
Very good.
All right, now on to 3.7, math curriculum enhancements.
yeah, so we just have several. This is sort of just FYI things, updates as we shift things or pilot things, just to keep everyone informed. So I'll just go through this first one here. Is called. It's got modern classrooms at the top. If you want to look at that sheet first. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
I'll listen.
So I can talk through that first. So we have several schools participating. This is very much a pilot. So again, this is actually no cost to us right now. Funding was secured as this is part of a research opportunity with American Institute for Research. This organization, Modern Classrooms, originated, the folks who work here and started this, actually started in Washington, D.C. in high schools. And the problem they were trying to address was how to meet the diverse needs in the classroom, students coming in with various readiness levels. Someone might be absent one day, coming in the next day. So how does a teacher in that sort of, like, let's say, traditional environment address that? And so this really is sort of like an opportunity to do some more blended learning. And so what they come in and do is they're working with teams from these schools: Laterno, Viveris, Green, Spencer Borden, Stone, Tansy, Westall, and Doran. And they've actually they're going to train teachers on using their current curriculum, illustrative mathematics, which is our math curriculum, and they've actually have it built out so that it can be used in more of a blended format. And so it gives kids the opportunity to really focus on being more mastery based. So they might start in a different place than someone else. They can watch some videos, they can go back and review those. It also allows the teacher to spend more time in small group or one-on-one because they're really leveraging the technology, in a different way. And so that's really what the modern classrooms is. The second one is project-based learning. Also, this has been, funding has been secured through 1-8 Foundation, which sponsors this opportunity. We've already done this in grade 6 last year. We're actually rolling this up to grade 7 next year. So we just pilot 2 project-based units. It's really about using an opportunity to have project-based learning in a math classroom, right? So how do kids have real-world experiences, real projects to get their hands on? They actually interview. I had an opportunity to observe some classrooms. Kids actually were like interviewing community members around a particular problem
Like
and
a
then addressing that.
project
Yeah,
for
it's
school,
it's
right?
it's pretty cool. So they're just units that I want to say might take like a 6 to 8 week sort of cycle.
Yeah.
But all project-based learning, teachers receive training in them in order to run the units, and we're piloting in 6th grade and 7th grade. So we would continue our 6th grade next year, add in the 7th grade next year as well.
How many middle school?
Right now, this is
Classrooms
at
went through.
Cuss, Talbot, Morton, Dorn, and Lord, and
So they
all
all did it
6.
last
Yes,
year, yeah.
last year I believe Talbot, and then I want to say some substantially separate classrooms at the other schools. Next year, it'll be all of the 6th and 7th grade classrooms at those
That's
schools.
great. And teachers like it.
So far, the feedback has
yeah.
been positive from the units. Yeah.
It's cool.
The high schools, just 'cause on the back page, I know Durfee's participating. No
Durfee.
appetite to expand that to the alternative high school and or
We're actually
Global
looking,
Alternative.
yeah, so I'm actually looking at something different for Durfee and for the high school, for RPA and Stone. I have a info session the end of July. I mean, I can speak about it. It's not on here because it's not something we formalized in
Right.
partnership yet. But I'm actually meeting with Spring Point to take a look at what they use called TLEs, Transformative Learning Experiences. Right now, we use those at Evolve, but I'm looking at how to expand some of that competency base to RPA and Stone, and then potentially Durfee as well.
Yeah,
So-
this is the reason, I'm not gonna go into detail, but I just can't stress enough how important it is that we keep the access to education equal throughout all the schools.
Absolutely, yeah. This unit on the back for high school is focused on AP statistics, and that's called Skew the Script. I believe there's another one pager there as well. So again, these are all pilots. Us just really exploring, trying some different things that are a little bit new, researching them, seeing if they're worth expanding implementation. But and right now they're all grant funded, so it's no cost to
Perfect.
us right now.
Even better. All right. So next is discussion only to review district's curriculum, and we do not have technology. Who's got that one?
I know this is a question you had asked.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was the individual who referred this to this committee. I guess my question would be, if Wi-Fi goes down, technology goes down, we go back 300 years, we're in the dark ages overnight.
Well, I taught with no, not quite the dark ages, but I did have a chalkboard, so that's there was no technology then.
Exactly. So when those situations happen, what are we doing when that happens? Like if there's a test has to be taken specifically on technology. I know some educators raised some complaints when the technology went down and they couldn't utilize certain tests that they wanted to give to their students. So I guess that's where this came in.
Sure. Yeah. So in general, we've obviously we're building on the presumption that we have the resource that we have. In the moment where we've been unable to do that, and speaking as a principal at Talbot, there were days where the internet just didn't work for a day. Let's say that could happen, right?
Yeah.
It happens.
all the
And
time.
so we would have to pivot, right? One thing educators are good at is being extremely flexible. And so in those moments, we might have to pivot. I know other challenges have been, let's say, making copies. I know that's tricky. Most of our, we would have our team just support educators with designing a plan that makes sense for that day. You're not always going to be able to execute the same thing you did, but some of our curriculum, for instance, Amplify, ELA curriculum, there are also books that come with it, right? And so there's an opportunity, instead of a student reading a text, let's say, and answering questions on the online platform, they might revert back to a book, right? In our social studies curriculum, students might be reading an article, right? Again, they might have had access to it online, but it's something that if we had access to a printer, we could potentially pivot, in that moment. Specifically for what we experienced, we had made some readiness plans to go to, because this was during testing, MCAS testing, we had made some plans to go and work with the state to potentially go paper-based if we had to. Before we were gonna have to go that route, we were able to actually do a small pilot one day with some computer-based testing, which, the tech people could explain more how that happened. But basically, we didn't have the need to necessarily move paper-based, but we'd actually made that plan, worked with principals pretty quickly, to put a plan together. If we had to move to paper-based testing, we would have done that.
Okay.
So, but I mean, can I say that everything would be seamless? Absolutely not, right? We've built it for one piece. But if we knew that it was going to be sort of a longer term thing, then we'd have to really rethink some of our other resources.
Yeah, right. Especially at the high school level, where especially at Derby High School, where students are reliant on those Chromebooks, and where a lot of the curriculum is on those Chromebooks as well. So, just there, and of course, it's also the safety. This isn't. I don't want to go too far, of course, from the topic, but it's also the safety aspect as well. When we have a cell phone policy in place, and if these things happen, I definitely I think this is definitely a learning curve for everyone, the administration, the committee, the public. So hopefully, I hope knock on wood, this doesn't happen again, or any similar incident happens again. But definitely, if it does ever happen, we'll be more prepared.
Yeah, I will say the positive, just to really put a positive spin on it. Sure. Some positive feedback that did come out of the experience was that teachers, especially teachers that have been around a while, right, reverted back to having kids work in groups, having kids work in partners. One of the things that I think happened post-pandemic is that we became so reliant on the technology in some ways that, it was really isolating in some. Everything was sort of individual, and we know that kids struggle with, they need opportunities to interact socially, to learn those skills. And so I will say that I think one thing that we've seen, and it's actually stayed on, is that it's important to find that balance, right? I don't believe that a student should be on the computer all day long either, right? That's not good, that amount of screen time. And so how do you find that balance as a teacher?
Right.
Which I think, because we were forced to be in that situation, we saw some folks really make that pivot and had kids work in groups, had kids work in partners.
Right.
So I think that was
Yeah,
one
hopefully
positive
that,
outcome.
to your point, hopefully that's something that we can, teach students throughout all grade levels, that face-to-face interaction.
Absolutely, yeah, it's very important, yeah.
And I know that's something the district values, so hopefully that continues. Thank you for the
It's an important part of the work, yeah.
Okay, on to new business. Any new business before us today? I don't hear any. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Second?
Mr. Guys,
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee,
Yes.
Ms. Ferraro.
I just told them not to go.